What is up, guys? So if you're still here and the previous section that you saw was recorded yesterday, so like today is a new day for me. Let's continue with our project. Yesterday, like we were about to create the form section, but before moving on to that section, like there are a few things that I want to correct. So if you look at our website right now, like we have changed the text of this worm, right? But our font family has now been reset to default. So we actually want this font family right here. Okay, that's one thing. Another one is that I also want to have a color of this orange here in the books. And the third one is, as you can see here, we have this fav icon, right? So I was actually working on a different project. It kind of stayed here as a cache, and I have no idea how to remove that. Like if you have any idea how to do that, like do let me know in the comment section below. But for now, I'll just change this to another favicon and I'll show you guys how to do that. So like these are the three things that I want to do before moving on to the form section. Okay, so yeah, first let's get started by changing this font family. Changing this font family, as in like it does have a font family, but I think since we have added a span tag here, I think the font family is being set to default. So if I go to my code, so now if I go to navbar.js, and you can see that we have added a span tag, and I think that is the reason why the font family is being set to default. So we should also, I think we should also add the font family here as well. And what we can do is in our navbar.styles.css, right? We have like the styles for the nav links, and since our span element is also inside, oh, I don't think it's inside the nav links. Sorry, I think it's in the logo. Okay, so we have the styles for the logo, and since our span tag is also inside the logo itself, what we can do is we can also give the same styles to our span tag by saying dot logo and adding a space, and then by referring to the span tag. And this way these styles will also get added to the span tag, which also includes the font family. Or you can just copy this text and you can add it here and then say font family of Chivo Mono. If you save this, all right, so you can see that now the font family is changed to Chivo Mono. Okay, so that is what I wanted at first. Now the second thing that I need to do is change the color of these books to this color, okay, which is our primary color, which is a light orange. So let's just go to our I think it's inside the showcase.js, and yeah, we do have this text here. So I'll just wrap it inside the span tag. Span tag. Let's just add books here, and now I'm gonna set the class name to text primary. So text hyphen primary, and as you guys know, this text primary is basically our global class that we can use anywhere. So yeah, so let's just save that. And I think the font family will break. As you can see, it's breaking. So what you can do is we can do what we had done in our logo section. So I'm going to like target this span tag with respect to this showcase content. So let's just go to showcase.styles.css, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say dot showcase content, and now I'm going to target the span tag. So span, and here what we can do is we can add the font family. So I'm going to add a font family of Chivo Mono. I don't think there are any hyphens there. So if I save this and go back, you can see that the font family is now there. So this is what I wanted, number 2. And the final thing is, let's just change the favicon here, right? So for this one, we need a file here either in png or like .ico. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna like just set an icon there. So let me go to icon finder, and this is one of the like free resources for icons. You also have like the paid ones, but like the free ones are good as well. So let me just type book here, and let's see what I will get. This looks good, like it goes with our theme, right? So I think we can use that. I don't know if it's free or if it's not, so let's just see. I think it's not free. So yeah, let me just filter out the free ones. Let's see. Okay, this looks good for now, this one. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. Yeah, this looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this in PNG, or I think we have ICO. Yeah, we have the .ico format. So let me download in this format. There you go. Let me copy that, and let's go to our desktop, book ecommerce, and inside the source folder, I think it's inside assets, or you know what, I'm gonna go and like paste it inside the public folder because I'll be needing it inside the index.html. So I'll just paste it here, and I'm going to say favicon dot, I don't think we need to give an extension here, so I'll just name it favicon. Let's close this for now. And if you go to our code, and if you go to our index.html, now we can like bring this favicon.ico inside our index.html. So the way we add favicon in our website is with the help of the link tag. So you might have encountered link tag while like combining HTML and CSS. So yeah, we're gonna use that tag. So we're gonna say link, and the rel should be inside the rel, it should be icon, and we also need to specify the type, and we have to, and here we need to add like image slash x hyphen icon. Okay, and inside our href attribute we are going to locate our favicon. So since both of them are in the same folder, we can say dot slash favicon.ico, and if you save this and if you go to the browser, you'll be able to see our icon here. Okay, so basically we have changed our favicon. Yeah, so that's working fine, and we have brought back the font family here, and I've changed the color here. So now I think we are good to go with the input field. Okay, so let's start working on the search input UI. So let me go to the code again, and let me go to the showcase section. So showcase.js, remember it's a component that is inside this folder. I would want the form input to be a separate component. So what I'm going to do is inside our components I'm going to create another folder with the name of form. Okay, so, or like forms, and here again I'm going to create another folder that says search input form. Yeah, that would do the trick. And inside the search input form let's create a new file that says search input form.js, and we also need a file for styling. So let's create a new file that says search input form dot styles dot css. Okay, cool. So now we're going to create the search bar. Okay, so let's just create a basic component first. Okay, this works. Now let's just import it in our showcase file, and let's see if this is working or not. So I'm going to import it, search input form, and let's call it somewhere over here. There you go. Now if you save this and let's see how it looks, there you go, we have the search input here. I don't know like why it's coming. I think it's because, again, I think it's because of the oh, I think we should add it inside the showcase content, because the showcase content is getting centered. Yeah, there you go. Now instead of the search input text, we need to create the form itself. So let's go back to the search input form, and here let's create an input field. So I'm going to say input, right? And let's just add a type of text, because it's going to be a search query. It's going to be a simple text. And for now I'll just leave it as it is. I'll also add a class name of search input. Yeah, and here I'm going to add a class name of search input form container. Yeah, that would do the trick. And finally I would want a button here, so let's just add a button tag. So beauty button. Yeah, and inside this button tag I want to have, let's add a search text, right? And let's just give it a class name of like search button is search button. Okay, let's just save that, and let's see how it is looking right now. Not bad. Okay, so now we're going to style this, and this is where the fun comes. So the first thing is we are going to target this search input form container, and oh, first we need to like import the CSS as well. So let's just import it, import, and we're going to import it by saying dot slash search input form dot styles dot css. And I think the styles will get imported now. So what we're going to do is we are going to target this container first. So let's just add a dot search input form container. There you go. And here let's add a display flex for now. So display flex, and now let's target this input tag, the search input. So I'm going to type search input, and here now search input is basically this white input field that you're seeing here, and I want it to be a little bit large, like up till here, and then I want to have the button over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a flex property of 1 here, and 1 just means that it just takes the entire screen, like apart from that space that the button is taking, it's going to take the entire screen. So let me just show you and see how this works. And there you go, it's like taking the entire space and just leaving a little bit of space for the button. So that's the flex 1 property. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is when you click on this input field, you can see that there is a little bit of like the borders coming up, right? This will only work when you click on the input field. So like when I'm clicking on this input field right now, you can see that these borders are coming up. Now I don't want that to happen, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that. So here in our search input, I'm going to add a over not overflow outline property, outline, and set that to none. So with this, what happens is that every time you click the input field, the white outlines won't come. So if I click here, nothing's happening right now because I've just set the outline to none. Okay, let's go back to the search form container, and here now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some paddings. So padding of, let's say, 1 rem. Let me add a background color of white. So hash fff, that's the background hex code for, that's the hex code for white. And let's see, there you go, you have this like the background white here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the border radius now. So border radius 5 pixels. Let's see. Okay, that's looking good. Let me also remove the outlines here, sorry, the borders. So in our search input, I'm going to remove the border by saying border none. And if I go back again, you can see that there are no borders. So like this is kind of like the UI that I wanted. And I think the font family could be, font size could be a little bit large. Let's just make the font size a little bit large on the input field. Okay, so let's just go here and let's just add a font size to 1.2 rem, and let's see what this happens. Okay, now you have a little bit of bigger font size so that like it's easier to read. We are going to set or like style this button, so its color is going to be same as that of this one, the primary color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dot search button because I think that's the class name here. So let's just add a search button, and let's just add a padding for now, padding of 0.5 rem, 0.5 rem on top and bottom. Yeah, and I think 1 rem on left and right should do it. There you go. That's much better. I think I should give it 1.2 rem. Let me remove the borders as well. So border none. And the next thing I want to do is I want to have a background color. So background color, and you might have guessed it by now, it's going to be var, and inside that I'm going to specify our primary color. These are basically CSS variables, and the color, that is the text color of the button, I'm going to use hashtag FFF, which is basically our white color. So let's just save that and see how this looks. As you can see, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I want to set the border radius of this button as well. So let's just add a border radius of 3 pixels. Let's just see how this looks. Looks pretty good. And let's just also add a cursor pointer here. Cursor pointer. Okay, so that the pointer comes up once we hover onto this search button. And I think this is it, guys. We actually have created the input field. Now I do want a little bit of spacing from top and bottom. So in our form container, let's just add a margin top of 20 pixels maybe. Let's see how this works. Yeah, this is working pretty, this is actually pretty fine. And let's also have a placeholder here. So in our search input, I think we should do it from the JS. So search input form.js, and we need to add a placeholder here, and here we can add search books, something like that. And yeah, there you go, we have the placeholder now. I would want a little bit of padding here, so let's just go to our input field and let's add a padding left of 10 pixels extra. Now it's looking much better. So yeah, there you go, guys. I think we have created the input field. This might not be the best design, but like this is what we're going to do. We're not going to heavily focus on the UI. We're just going to make it work because there are functionalities as well, and you know, I don't want this video is going to get long. I know that, but I don't want it to be like a 12 to 13 hour video. Two last things that I want to do here is, one, add a drop shadow over this entire container, and another one is like when I hover onto this button, I want to make it a little bit brighter, like to just have the hover effect. So let's just go to our code back again, and here in our search button, I'm going to add the hover effect by targeting the search button first. So search button, yeah, and then we need to add a colon and then say hover. and whatever styles we add, it's going to get added once we hover on the button itself. So the first thing we want to do is change the background color. So we're going to change the background color to a little bit brighter than the color that we have currently, and like I do have the hex code for that. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to go to index.css, I think, because that is also going to be a global variable. So I'm going to go up here, and then here where we have like added the CSS variables, I'm going to add another variable saying primary color bright, because this color is going to be a little bit brighter than the primary color. So that's why the name primary color bright. And then I'm going to add a hex code which I already have. So I'm just going to paste that hex code here. So basically this color is going to be our bright primary color. So let's just save that, copy the hex code if you want, and let's just go back to search input form .styles.css again, and in our like search button slash hover, let's just add a background color of var, sorry about that, var, and then say dash dash primary color bright. Let's just save that and let's see if this works or not. There you go, guys, it's working. As you can see, when you hover onto this, it's being a little bit darker, and like there are no animations currently, so let's just do that animation as well, because right now it's just being like, it's not giving that much of a good user experience. So let's go back, and in our search button, let's just add a transition to 0.2 seconds, and let's just add a property of ease in. So ease in, let's just save that and see how this works. Okay, this is much better than the previous one. One thing that's left is adding the drop shadow. So let's just do that. So in our like main form container, yeah, let's just add a box shadow. So box shadow of 4 pixels, 15 pixels, and hash 111. Let's just save that and see, and there you go, we have a little bit of drop shadow here. So I think that would do the trick. And if you guys don't know how box shadow works, you can always check that out in the like, there are like good resources, you can find it out on the internet. Basically what we're doing is we are adding a little bit of shadow on the, I think the first one goes to the right, and we're adding a 4 pixel shadow on the bottom, and then we are blurring those shadows with 15 pixels, and then we are adding the color of that shadow, which is hash 111, which is a little bit lighter than the main black. Okay, so that's box shadow, and yeah, so we have created our form UI. Okay, so I think our showcase section is done for now. Like, I think this is it. So now let's move ahead to another section, like, which is the product listing section in the home page. So yeah, let's get started by doing that. So let me go to my code base again, and let me go to home page. Yeah, here you go. So below the showcase section, I want to add the product listing section. So let me also create that as a component. Let's just add product listing. So like we have to create this product listing component because like we haven't created that. So let's just go to components, and inside the layouts, I think we should add a new folder that says product listing, and inside this product listing we are going to create a file that says product listing.js, and like we need to have a CSS file for it as well. So new file, product listing dot styles dot css. So let's create a simple component first for the product listing, and inside this div I'm just going to add a text of product listing. Let's just save that. We're getting an error, expected brackets. Oh, I think we're using the arrow function, so we need to add the const here. Yeah, so let's just save that. Let's go to our home page and call the product listing again, like import the product listing. So import product listing from components, layouts, product listing. Okay. And since we have already called it here, let's just save that and see if this works. And currently it's not working. Okay, it's working. It just took some time to load. So yeah, we do have the product listing section here. So now let's start working on it. So let's just go back to our product listing.js. Let me just close the showcase section for now, and this section as well, so that you guys don't get confused. Yeah, I think we should work with this one. We do need the home page, like, to refer it back and forth, I think. Or no, like, just let's just leave this home page as well. Okay, let's just add a class name here of product listing container. There you go. And let's just have that. Remember that we have created a generic container class. Like if you go to styles.css, sorry, index.css, you'll see that we have a generic container class. So we're going to add that as well, because we need that padding on the left and right. And instead of just adding with the help of the padding property, we can use that container, generic container. So we're going to say, we're going to create a div tag and have a class name of container. And inside this div, we are going to have this entire content of product listing. So let's just check if this works. And there you go, we just have this little bit of padding on the both left and right. So now I also want this section to separate from the showcase section. So let's just give like margin top of like 20 pixels or 20% or 10%. And to do that, we need to add the margins on the container, which is the main product listing container. So before doing that, let's just import this CSS in our product listing page. So let's just import /product listing .styles .css. There you go. Now let's just target this class here in our product listing styles.css. So dot product listing container, and here let's just add a margin top of 20%. Let's just see how this looks. If we say that, we're getting this error that says fail to compile, module not found, product listing .styles.css does not mean. Okay, I think we are, yeah, we have like imported with a capital P, so we need to make that small p, because here the product listing name is in small p. So if you save this, there you go, now now the error is gone. But one thing is that this margin is too big, so I think we need to lower that to around 5%. Now I think, yeah, that looks good. So instead of this paragraph tag, let me just add an h2 tag, h2, and that says here are some books that you might like. This looks good. Yeah, something like this. So let's just save that. Let's see, here are some books that you might like. Okay, let me also have some like this orange text in this box here, just to have a little bit of like a contrast. So let me just add a span tag here, span tag. Let's just copy this box and add it inside of here, and let's just add a class name here of text primary. And remember that the text primary class is a global class that we have created, which basically converts the color to primary color, you can see here. So we're just adding that class. let's just save this, and now you can see that the color is changed, but again the font family is not being changed. So what I'm going to do here is, since we are just using the span tag for changing the color to orange, what you can do is we can create like we can style it globally and like add a font family there. So what we can do is in our index.css we can add a span tag, and then we can set its font family to Shivo Mono. Let's just save that, and there you go, we have our font family back. Okay, so now let's create a product listing for a single product, right? Because like there are, because like if you kind of think about it, there will be multiple products that is given, right? But all, even if you have multiple products, the styling for the product listing of a single product is going to be same. So let's go back to our product listing page, and here let me add a div of class name equals let's just say a listing container, and here let's just go with a single product for now. Let's just add here a div of class name equals let's just say product listing card. Okay, and let's just add a div here. Okay, so inside this product listing card, we are going to have that they're going to have that card where we are going to show some product details, not in detail, not in depth, but like just a little bit of details, and then we're going to have that add to cart button. So first let me create another div here with a class name of product image container. Let's make it product listing image container, and let's create another div beside of it which says product listing content container, because if you think about that card, you will have a image on the top and then content on the bottom. So we're just creating containers for those two, and inside this image container we are going to have that image of any product, in our case our books. So I'm just creating those containers here. So let's say div, and let's just add a class name equals product listing dash details dash container. Let's just close this tag, and now inside of this details container, I'm going to have, the first thing I'm going to have is the book name, right? So I'm going to have an h3 here. That's basically going to be a book name, and then below it I'm going to have an author name. So let's just have the author name, author name, and finally below it I'm going to have a class. I'm going to have the pricing for that particular book. Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to add another p tag, and here I'm going to have a pricing, and finally I'm going to have the button. So let's just add an anchor tag instead of the button tag, and let's just add an href of hash here. Later on we're going to change this anchor tag to link components that come from the React router, because I don't think like anchor tag works with React router, because we are going to use routing once you like click on the add to cart, right? But right now we're just focusing on the UI, so let's just go with the flow and use anchor tag for now. So let's just add a class name here as well of oh, no, I don't want a class name right now. Let's just create an anchor tag and say like this is going to be a button. And as you can see, like you are getting a couple of warnings that says like the href attribute requires a valid value to be accessible. Like you can like skip that, right? That's just saying that here you need to have a proper value, like we're just adding a hash. So like that's why the warning is coming up. And inside our product listing we are going to have the image itself, but before adding the image, like we need to have that image, right? So let me just get an image like quickly. I already have like some images that I've downloaded before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that image. But before that, let me create a folder in our assets folder that says books images. Okay, so let me go to my, I think I have stored it in my downloads folder, and here inside, I think, yeah, these are the files. Let me just copy this and let me go to my desktop. That is where I have my project file. Inside book ecommerce, source assets, and inside this books images, I'm going to paste it here. So yeah, I do have some few files, few images, and if you look at their like type, they are all WEBP files, except for the JPG here. The type of the file does not matter as long as you give the right extension name. It's going to work. So now since I've added the images, I'm going to go to my editor again, and here, so now I can use the image tag and then like add the image. So what I'm going to do is add an image tag and add a source attribute. Let's just set that to empty curly braces for now, and let's just add an alt tag here that says product listing image, right? And let's just close this tag. Now there is a way of how you import an image and use it in react.js. So the way we do that is not by directly like allocating in the source attribute, but importing it here and then like importing it on the top and using it as a component inside this like source attribute, right? So we're going to import that image. So I'm going to import the product image. So let's just say product image from now you can like locate it from here. So I'm gonna say dot slash go one folder back. I think we should go like 3 folder backs, because since we are in this product listing, we need to go like 1 back, 2 back, and then 3 back. Then only we'll be able to locate this asset folder. So we're going to go 3 folders back, and there you have it. We have the assets folder here, and now inside of it we have the books images, and inside this we have the jungle book dot WEBP, right? And let's use this component product image over here, right? And let's just save this and see if this works or not. And there you go, guys, we are getting this image. So this is how you upload an image, or like you work with images in react.js. So basically what I did was I imported it here, right, by locating it on this file, and I use this product image value inside the source attribute in our image tag. So basically this is how you add an image in react.js. So that is done. So I think like markup is more or less done. Now what we need to do is we need to style it up. So let's just go back to our VS Code. First I'm going to add a little bit of margin, because I think, yeah, these are really attached to each other, this text and this card components. So I'm going to add a little bit of margin or padding on top. So let's go back and let's just target this listing container. So dot listing container, and let me add a padding top of 2rem. Okay, this looks fine, but let's just add 4rem here. Okay, this looks way better. Now I'm going to have a border on this card. So for that I need to target the product listing card here. So let's just do that. Dot product listing card, and let's just add a border of 1 pixels, and I'm going to, border type is going to be solid. And then for the color, let's just give it AAA, which is like a slight gray in color. I don't want to have like a bright or a dark border. I want it to look faint but like visible, right? Like, yeah, this looks good, but as you can see here, like it's taking the entire width, right? And I don't want to do that. I just want to have the width of whatever the width that these contents are going to take. So for that, what I need to do is set our width to fit content. If you save this, if you go back, and there you go, now the width is changed to whatever the width the content is taking, right? Now what I want to do is I want to make this image a little bit smaller, because I think right now it's looking a little bit big. So let's just go over to the product listing page. Yeah, let's just add a class name here, and let's just add a class name of product listing image, and let's just style it up. So dot product listing image, and let's just change its width for now. So let's just change the width to, let's do some trials and errors. 50 pixels. Okay, it's way smaller. So yeah, after some trials and errors, I think 200 pixels is doing some justice. So if you go back, you can see that it's looking a little bit better. And I also want to have a padding at the right side, a little bit. So I'm gonna have a padding there. So in our product listing card, I'm just gonna have a padding right of 2 rem. I think we should give it like 3 rem. Yeah, there you go, that looks good. I also want to give a padding top of 2 rem, and a padding bottom as well of 2 rem, and like border radius, let's just set that to 5 pixels for now. And let's see how this looks. Okay, I think we can have like 10 pixel border radius here. This looks way better. So yeah, we're gonna go with this one. And now let's just style our content over here. So let me go back to our code. Let's go to product listing.js, and now in our, we can target this product listing details container in order to like style our contents. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to target the product details, I think it's listing or like details, product listing details container, product listing details container. And this is one drawback of using like going with CSS, is that you have to like end up creating like unique class names, and like if you're not really good with that, it can be like, it can be a really stressful work, because I mean, as the because as the your application scales, it's very hard to keep track of the class names. So that this is one drawback that I find using the normal generic CSS, and I think that's why I like working with CSS modules. But for now, like for this video, like that's out of scope, so like we're not going to focus on that. Let's just like work with our like normal CSS, and if you find comfortable with CSS only, then it's good for you. Like you can work with this. It's not like it's bad or you can't work with this, right? Like if you're comfortable with it, just go with it. So here I'm just gonna add, I think we need some paddings on the top and the right. So let me have a padding top here, padding top of 2 rem, and let's have a padding left of 2 rem only. That looks better. Now let's style our header, which is the book name h3. Let's target this, and we're not going to add a class, as I said it again, like figuring out class name is a hectic task. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to target it with the help of this class only. So I'm going to say product listing details container, and then h3, and here I'm going to add a font family of Chivo Mono, because but I think it's a header, so I think font family, yeah, because we have set the font family in our global styling, so I don't think I will be needing that. For the font size, I'm actually satisfied with whatever font size it has right now. So I think I'll leave it as it is. I don't think I would want to like change anything there. That looks pretty good, but I do want to like make the author name a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, yeah, target this author name. So here I have to add a class because there is another pre tag here for pricing as well. So I'm going to add a class name of author name, and here I'm going to add a class name of pricing. Yeah, so let's go back to our styles and let's target the author name first. Author name, and now let's set the font size here to 0.8 rem. What about 0.9? Okay, that looks way better. And I want to have a little bit of padding on top and bottom as well, so let's just add a padding of 2 rem, no, not 2 rem, 1 rem. And let's see how this works. Yeah, I think I need to have a padding of 0.8 rem. 0.8. What about 0.5? Okay, this looks way better. And also I'm going to add a padding here of 0. What this means is that for the first value we are adding the padding on the top and bottom, and for the second value we are adding the padding on the left and right. So for the top and bottom I want a 0.5 rem of padding, but for left and right I don't want any padding, so I'm just going to set it to 0, right? So if you save this, you'll see that the author name has come back to align with our book name. Okay, that's one thing. And now for the pricing, let's just change the text of the pricing to an actual price, and let's just say 300. And here instead of dollar I'm going to have a rupee sign because I'm from India, so yeah, I don't know how much dollars would a book would cost, so I'm going to go with rupees. So in order to add a rupee sign, what you can do is, because since your keyboard, I don't think your keyboard will have a rupee sign, you'll have a dollar sign, but for rupee sign what we're going to do is I'm going to type Indian rupee HTML code. Yeah, and I think we should get that. Yeah, I think this is it, like ampersand hash h8377 and semicolon. I think this is the code, so let's just paste it here and see if this works. If you save this, go back to our browser, check it out, and there you go, we have this rupee sign, right? So yeah, it is ampersand hash a377 colon. So now let's style the pricing now. So we're going to go back to product listing.styles.css and then target the pricing class. For the font size I'm going to make it a little bit big, so the font size should be 1.5 rem. For the font weight it's going to be bold, so 700. And let's just add a color as well here of var, and instead of the primary color we are going to use the bright color, so primary color bright. Yeah, save this, and if you check this out you can see that this is way better. And finally, yeah, I think I'm going to have this style this button as well, but before that let me just change this book name and author name as well. So let's just go back to our product listing.js. Let's change the book name to the Jungle Book, and let's change the author name to Rudyard Kipling. I hope I spelled it right. Finally, like, let's create this button, but I'm not sure if I should create it in black or in the orange one. And but like, since we have already added orange in this 300, let's just like keep it black, the color of the button. So let me add a class name in this button here. and let's just add a class of product listing button. Okay, and here let's just add a dot product listing button, product listing button, right? And now let's just style this button. First things first, I would want its background color to be black, right? Let's just set its width to 100%. I don't know if like width will work on inline elements, and it's not working. Now you might be get confused here. Like you might say that I've used the width to 100%, but why is my elements width not being set to 100%? Like why it is not like being enlarged? And the reason why is because you are using an inline element, and inline element by default does not support like width, or I don't think it supports margin or padding as well. So in order to make it work, we need to change this inline element to inline block element. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the display property to inline block, right? And let's just save that, and now you can see that the width is working. Pretty cool, right? So another thing I want to have here is I want to have a padding. So let's just add a padding of 1 rem and 0, because we don't want padding on the left and right. Let's just save that and see. Yeah, we do have a little bit of spacings. So I'm going to add another property of text align, and I'm going to use center value so that the text will like move up to the center. And now let's just change this color of the text. So let's just add a color of white, and I'm also going to set the font family to Chivo Mono. Okay, because I want to have that font family on the buttons. And also, since we have an underline here, right, we need to remove that by adding a property of text decoration, and the value should be none. Okay, let's just see how this looks, and it's looking way better than the previous one. And finally, I would want a little bit of space from this content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a margin top of 2 rem, and there you go, we have this item cart. Now finally, when I click on this button, I would want it to have some kind of an animation effect. And here what I can do is when I hover onto this button, I can make it orange, and the text will be white only. So I'm going to target this again and add a hover. Now whenever you hover on this product listing button, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background color, and now I'm going to set the variable to primary color bright. Now if you save this and go back, now you can see that the button is changing, right? You know what, I might have to, I think I should change the primary button and button to orange, because orange is looking pretty good here. And whenever I hover onto this button, I think I'm going to change it to black. I'm going to change its colors, so because it's looking pretty good on the orange as well. So let me copy this code, paste it here, copy this code or cut this code and paste it here. Let's just save that and see. Okay, this is looking way better than the previous one, at least for me. So what I did was that I just changed the background color, like swapped the background color. So the generic background color is going to be primary color bright, and whenever we hover onto the product listing button, we are going to get black color. Final thing, I want to have some animation over here, so let's just go back to our product listing button and add a transition of not cubic page here, 0.2 seconds, and ease in will be the transition effect. So let's just save that and see how this works. And there you go, guys, this beautiful animation is there. And we have also like set up a basic layout for the product listing of a single product, and we're going to use this same layout for the every product. So let's go back to product listing. Now if you look at the UI, this card that you're seeing here, right, so this basically starts from our product listing card, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it over here. Let's just save that, and you can see that another card is coming up here. And so since we want like 4 cards in a row, let's just add another 2 sections here. Let's just save this, and now we have these 4 cards over here, but the problem is they are not right next to each other, they are below each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a display flex property to bring it to align it in a row. So since our listing container is the parent container of these cards, what I'm going to do is go back to our product listing styles, and inside our listing container I'm going to add a display property of flex, right? And there you go guys, we have the entire cards in a single row. Now another thing that I want to do here is add a justify content property of space between. Let's just see how this looks, and there you go guys, this looks way better. Okay, so the first thing is we have these 4 books in a row. Okay, that's one thing, but if you look at our code here, like this code has become really big. Okay, and since we are just copying and pasting the same sections over and over, what we can do is we can make a component for the particular card and then use that component again and again in order to display that card. So basically what I can do is, so I can create another component with with the name of product card, and there I can add this section, and then I can use that component again and again, so that we don't have to copy and paste this entire code, because this is not a good practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new folder here with a folder name of cards, and then I'm going to add a new folder again with the name of product listing card, right? And inside this I'm going to create a new file that says product listing card.js, and I'm going to add another file that is going to be product listing card.styles.css. This looks good. First, let's just create a simple component. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our product listing, and then like, since like this code is basically the card, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right over here. Okay, let's bring it back. All right, so this is basically our generic card. Now now the next thing that I want to do is copy the styles as well. So here if you go, you have this product listing card. Is it product listing card, or yeah, it's product listing card. So from here I think I would want to copy it, right? And let's just cut that and let's just paste it here, and let's just bring this product listing card over here as well. So import / product listing card dot styles dot css, so that now the css will also work. And let's just remove this. Let's just I know we like copy pasted it just a little bit back, but let's just remove it for now. This is like to help you explain and understand how we can use like components in order to ease our work, right? So let's just remove this, and now if you save this, I think you won't be able to see any cards because all the cards we have removed it right now. Now what I can do now is import this product listing card here in this product listing component, and then I can use that card again and again, so that with only one line of code we will have the entire card section, right? This will reduce our code's length, which is very efficient. So before that, I also want to like copy this product page and like import it in the product listing card, because remember we are using the image as well, and if you don't have this image over here then you'll get an error. And I don't think we need to change its location because we need to go like 3 folders back in order to get to the assets folder. So, and we are going to 3 folders back here, so I don't think we need to change the location of the product image. But what I would want to do is change its name to product, not product, right? And let's just save that, and let's bring the product listing card in our product listing component. So I'm going to import the product listing card, right? And I'm going to call it here, so product listing card. Let's just save that, and let's see if this works or not. Like, it should work, right? Because I don't think we have made any errors in our logic, but we have made some errors while locating some files. So it says cannot find file product listing card styles.css. So I think we made some errors over styles, and yeah, we have made some errors because product listing card.styles.css is in small p. We have made it big, we have made it capital P, so let's just change it to small p, and now this will work. There you go, we have this card over here back again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make more 3 of this. So if you save this, then you have this 4 cards back again, and there you go guys. Just few minutes before, like, we had this entire length of code right here in this file, right? But once you simplify it with components, you won't have to like write big lines of code. You can just do it with a simple line. Obviously this code will be saved over here, but like you don't have to like copy and paste like 4 of these sections. Like, you can just create it as a component and use that component anywhere, right? And this is the beauty of React. Now our product listing section for the home page is also done. Now finally what I would want to do is create a small footer section, and basically the section would have kind of like a contact page. So I want to have that contact section as well, and I think that would be the footer section in general. So now let's start with the footer section. Okay, now the footer section is also gonna be a component. So if you go to our file here, the home page, right? um, so we have the showcase, which was the top level section, and then we had the product listing section, which was this one. Now what we can do is we can have a footer section as well. So for that, let's first create the footer section. So let's go to our components, and inside our layouts we can create another folder. Let's click the layouts first. We can create another folder saying footer. Yeah, and inside this footer we can have the footer.js file and footer.styles.css for the stylings. So let's create those files. Footer.js and footer.styles.css. So now let's create our basic component inside footer.js, and let's also add the css file, right? Let's import that. So import dot slash footer dot styles dot css. Okay, yeah, so I think the basic component is done for now. Let me just add a text just to check of footer. Let's just create a class name here, class name of footer container, right? And let's just style this here. So footer container, and let's add a style of background color, and let's add the color black. So #000 is basically the hex code for black color. And if you save this, and let's just look and see if it works or not. Right now it's not coming because I think we are not importing it in our home page, right? Yeah, we're not importing that, so it won't appear. So let's import the footer as well. So import footer from dot slash components, layouts, and footer, and inside this we have the footer.js. Remember that you don't have to like give the extension like while importing from a JavaScript file, right? You can add the extension as well, but like it won't matter, so I'll just leave it as it is. And let's just add the footer component here. So footer, and let's just save this. Now I think it should work. It's still being compiled. Now it has been compiled successfully, and there you go guys, we have this black background color. So I guess the footer is working. The text isn't here because the text color is black. That's why it's not being like we are not being able to see there, but like the text is here. Yeah, so let's now create the main actual footer. So if we go to our footer.styles, let me just remove this for now. Let's just save that. And inside this footer I'm going to remove this text, and what I'm going to add is a div with a class name of container, because we want to have the padding on both left and right. And remember, we have created the component as a global class to create that effect. So we are going to add container inside the footer container, and inside this container I'm going to add an h2 tag, probably h2 tag, and here I'm going to type if you have any queries, feel free to ask here, something like this. Yeah, now I think this is where we should create the form as well. So let's just create a form, right? And here let me create a div with a class name of form group. This div will act as a container for the inputs that are required in the form. So for every input we have to create, like I'm creating this div. Okay, so inside this let's add an input field, right? Now inside this input field, what I want to do is first actually want to have for this form. Now for this form I want to have like three inputs. The first one would be the name, the second one would be the email, and the third one would be the query itself. And with these three inputs, like, and the final one would be a button. But with these three inputs, like I want to like send the query like to the owner, like owner of the site, right? So let's create an input field for the name. So let's create the input for the name field. So for that we need to add a type here of text, because we want the name to be a text basically. Yeah, and let's also create a class name, and let's just set that to form input, right? So form, and yeah, let's just leave it as it is for now. And let's just go down, let's create another form group. So div of class name equals form group, and now let's create the input tag for the email field. So input, now this time the type should be email, okay? And because this is for the email field, and the class name should be form input, right? And finally I want to have an input tag for the query as well. So not the input tag, but I think we should use a text area here. So div class name equals form group div, and here let's use a text area. So text area, and for the text area it's going to be it's going to have a closing tag, right? Just the input won't have a closing tag, but the text area will have a closing tag. So it's that. And also let's add a class name here as well. Class name equals to, let's add form input for now. Like if the stylings work for all the all the inputs, then that's okay. But for text area, if we need like more stylings compared to the input field, then we're going to change the class name later on. But for now I'm just keeping as it is. Okay. Another thing is that we also need to have placeholders here. So placeholder would be enter your name. So enter your name here. For this one it should be enter your email. So placeholder enter your email, right? And for the third one, I want to have like, it should be like type your query, something like that. So placeholder should be type your query, right? Let's just save this. Now we also need to add a labels for these input fields, right? And labels are basically the text that comes right before the input field that tells you like what this input field is about. So let's just add a label here. So label, and now label does have a closing tag, right? Label, so here I want to have a label of name, right? And let's just give a colon here. Yeah. And here let's add a class name of form label. So form label, something like that. Let's just save it, and let me show you what like label is all about if you guys don't know. You can see here you have this name right here. Now this basically is a label. Okay, you can also bind this label with this input such that when you click on this label, you'll be able to type here in this input as well. Because currently if you click on this label, you won't be able to like type inside this input, right? If you click here, like nothing happens. Only if you click on the input field you'll be able to type here. But if you bind the label with the input field, you'll be able to like type here just by clicking the name itself. So we can do that by adding a for attribute on the label. So let's just add a for of name, right? And we need to have the exact ID for that. So in our input field, let's create an ID of name, right? So this name should be same for the for attribute and the ID attribute. Now what will happen when you do this is this will create a binding for the label and its corresponding input. So if you click on this name now, you will be able to type on the input field as well. Okay. And I think instead of this for, I think we need to have an HTML for. Okay, so let me just add HTML for. Let's just save that. If you click on the name, there you go, it's working. So it was working previously before as well, but it just gave me a warning. That warning is basically because like we have to use HTML for in React instead of for, because in HTML the for attribute works fine, but since we're using JSX here, like this looks like HTML but it's actually JSX, we don't have a for attribute here because for is a keyword that is reserved in JavaScript. So let's just create a label for the email field as well. So label, and here let's just add an email, right? And let's set the attributes as well. So HTML for would be equal to email, and the class name should be equal to form label, right? And here let's just set the ID to email. Let's save that. And let's see, if you click on this email, then you can see that email input is being focused. That's because we have kind of binded the HTML for attribute with the ID of this input field, right? So let's create the final label for the text area as well. So label HTML4 equals to query, I think, and let's add a class name of form label. Yeah, that looks good. Let's just add a label here, and inside this we are going to have like query. Yeah, this should work. Query, and let me add an ID here of query, right? Let's just save that, and let's see how this looks. If you click on this query, there you go, it's working. And finally, we need to have the button. So for the button, let's just add a div of class name form group, and inside this we are going to have a button. So let's just add an anchor tag here, and let's just add an href of hash, and let's just add a class name form submit, and here let's type submit. Yeah, so let's just save that, and I think it should be there. Yeah, and I think this will be the basic markup of our footer. Like if there's anything that we need to add, we're going to add later on, but for now let's just keep it as it is, and let's just start styling this section. So let's just go back to our code. Yeah, I think we can start working on the styles. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background color of this footer to black. So let's just go to footer.styles.css. We're just going to add the styles here by saying background color of hash 000, which is our main black color. And let's see how this looks. Let's see if, let's try 111. How about 222? Okay, this looks much better than the real black one. So let's just go with this, and let me also add a margin top here, margin top of 5%, or like let's say 3 rem. Let's see how much margin we have added here, and based on that we're going to add a same margin there. So let's just go to our, I think it should be the product listing.styles.css. We have added a margin top of 5% over here. So we are going to add a margin bottom of 5% below as well. So let's just add a margin bottom on the product listing container itself. So margin bottom of 5% in our footer.styles.css. We can remove this margin top 3 rem, and let's see how this works. Okay, it's much better than before. So we have the margin top of 5% here and the margin bottom of 5% here. Another thing I want to do here is I want to add a padding on the footer container, not on the left and right but on the top and bottom. So padding, I'm going to say 3 rem. Let's just go with that for now, and for left and right I just want to have 0, because we already have the container element that sets the padding for the left and right. And I think we can go with 5 rem here. Save that. Yeah, this is much better. And let's have the text to white. So I'm going to target the h2 tag, because here we have the h2 tag with respect to our footer container. So let's just say dot footer container and then target our h2 tag, and I'm going to give it a color of hash fff, which is basically white. Let's see if this, how this looks. Yeah, we do have, this gives way better contrast. And if let's go back to footer.js, yeah, let's also give a class, set a class name on the form as well, saying footer form. Yeah, And now let's give this footer form, right? I think we should give it a padding top first. So padding, like padding top of 2 rem. Let's save that and see. Yeah, we do have some paddings over here, spacings. Let's give it a 3 rem instead of 2. Yeah, and if you now let me just inspect this and see how much width it is taking, the form like container. So the footer form is taking the entire width. You know what, let me just create this footer form to like 40% in width, because I don't want these input fields to like stretch out the entire screen. Let's just go to footer form and let's add a width of 40%. Let's see how this looks. Let's inspect that, and there you go, we have a 40% width. Let's go back to footer.js, and now I don't think we need to give it any styles to this form group as for now, but let's just style this input field first. So form input dot form input would be, let's just add a width of 100% so that like it stretches the entire screen. Yeah, and let's start to add some paddings. So padding 1rem. Let's see how this looks. Okay, way better. And I think we can give a font size as well here. So font size of 1.2 rem. Okay, this is way bigger. How about 1 rem? This is much better. Let's just also add a border radius property. So border radius of like 5 pixels. Yeah, I think like that should do it for now. And I also want to set the outline to none, because I don't want this white borders to come up once we select this input. So outline none. Yeah, now the the outlines are gone. Let's go back. Let's go back to footer and see. Now let's just give some paddings to this form input. Give some class names to this form group. So let's go to footer.styles.css, and just above this form input, I want to add a form group. Now let's add some paddings on top and bottom for them. So padding 1 rem on top and bottom, and 0 on the left and right. So that like we can have some spacing between these like form groups. And now let's style these labels. First we need to give it a style of white color. So if you go down here just above form input, we can target the form label, and let's set its color to hash FFF, I think. Let's save that and see. Okay, now we have the white color, and let's just give it a padding bottom of like 5 or 10 pixels below, so that we can have a little bit of white space between them and the input field. So padding bottom of, let's just try with 5 pixels first. Okay, the paddings are working. How about 10 pixels? I think the reason why it's not working is because of the form input. Let's just try an inline block here. So display inline block. Let's see if the padding works or not. Okay, it's not working here as well. So the label might be an inline block element. Let's try adding inline block on the form label. Let's see. Now you can see that the paddings are there. Now the reason why I think the padding did not work on the form label is because by default I think the label tags are inline elements. You won't be able to add paddings to the inline elements unless and until you like set the display property to inline block. Now finally I think we should style this submit button. So let's just style it up. What was the class name? It was form submit. Okay, so let's just target the form submit here. This should be MIT, and the first thing I want to do is I want to change its color to white. FFF. I think we're using a lot of whites and blacks. Like we have used it here, we have used it here, we have used it here. So like I think I would like to like give it a variable name because I'm not feeling like using hex code every time. So let's just go to index.css and let's just add a variable here of white color, and let me just add a white color of hash fff. Let's just save that and let's just use the white color every time you're using the color white. So var white color, var white color, and here let me just add a var of white color. Yeah, this looks way better. Okay, so our color is white. Let me add a text decoration property, text decoration of none, so that we can remove the underline, and then we can add a background color of var. Let's just try with the primary color and let's see how this looks. It looks pretty contrasting with the background color as well. So now let's give it let's try with primary color bright. Primary color bright. Let's see. Okay, this is looking much better than before, so I'm gonna stick with this. Another thing is I want to add a padding of 1 rem on top and bottom and like 2 rem on left and right. Let's just save that. But I think the padding, I think the top and bottom is a little bit big for now, so let me add a 0.8 rem and see. Okay, now this is looking much better. Now I think we need to make this, we need to move this button a little bit down because I think there is not much like white space between this button and this input field. So what we are going to do is like from the form group we are adding a padding of 1 rem on top and bottom, right? So like these divs, so form group is basically these divs, right? The container divs of the input fields. So these divs are responding to these paddings, but currently our button is not being able to respond to the padding, and that the reason, one reason could be like because it's an inline element since it's an anchor tag. So let's just change to inline block for now. So display inline block, and let's see if it's going to respond to that padding. And there you go, you can see that it's responding to the like form group padding, I think. Even though like we have added a form group here, I think it's because the anchor tag is an inline element, it was not being able to like respond to the paddings. But since we have made it to inline block element, like it's automatically giving us the space. And finally, like if I hover onto this button, I would want its color to change to white. So let's just do that. Let's just go to footer.styles.css and let's just add a form submit colon hover, and let's change the background color to var and white color, and let's set the color to 333. Let's just save that and see. Okay, this is looking much better. But I would want to give it a transition property. So transition of 0.3 seconds is in. Let's save that and see. There you go. Now we have a little bit of animations. So yeah, I think this should work. Yeah, I think we should add a small copyright section over here that you see in almost every website. So what I'm going to do is, let's go back to footer.js. Yeah, let's add a small p tag here. Not here. I think we should do it inside the container itself. So let's add a p tag. Let's add a and copy, and let's give it a semicolon. Now this will basically create that copyright symbol. You're going to say 2023 since it's December now. Bookworm, something like that, and then say all rights reserved. Yeah, something like that. And there you go, we have this small text. Now let's just style this first. So let me go here and then target the footer container, and then target the paragraph tag. Since the footer is going to have only one p tag, like we can do this instead of just adding a class name. And let's just add a color of, let's just set the color of var white color, and I want to add a padding top of 2 rem for now. Let's see. Okay, I think this is much better. The only thing that I would want to have here is the font size. I want to make it a little bit smaller, so font size of 12 or like 0.7 rem. I think that should do it. It's way smaller. Let's try with 0.8. Yeah, I think that is much better. Let's actually make this width a little bit larger for now. So instead of this photo in a photo form, instead of the 40% width, let me just add a 50% and see how this looks. Okay, let's refresh this page. It's looking much better than before, I think. So let's just stick with this. So I think this is it for the footer, guys. We're going to use this component again and again, so I don't think I would want to add anything like apart from this. But if there's anything to add later on, I'll add it, but for now I'll just leave it as it is. So we have the footer section set up, we have the book sections in our homepage set up, and we have the showcase section as well. So I think for now this is it in terms of styling and in terms of UI for our homepage. I think we have like spent a lot of time here because we want to make the entire application, so we have to focus on other sections as well. But since we have made like an important component, which is this card here, like making the product, like the book section, would not take much time because we are going to use the same components again and again. Also, we have used this in, we have created this like input field, so we can use it again and again in other sections as well. But for now, like I think this is it for the home page.